We all know the score in the entertainment industry. If something is a success in one medium, then it's not just enough to say, good game, and hope the next project goes well. You have to at least try your hand with a popular IP and see if you can parlay the audience's goodwill into a new, somewhat less connected installment.
In a bottle was a chick only 2 inches tall!
The 1970s saw the real rise of the animated spin-off, wherein companies like Filmation and Hanna-Barbera would adapt a 2D version of an existing live-action show.
Genie!
Yes, master?
This was a formula made for success in the eyes of the execs. You had a popular IP that could be adapted for a new medium that allowed more freedom when it came to spectacle. It meant less crew members than a live-action show, and animation itself was going through a bit of a dark age in the 70s and 80s with the slump in the Disney department, so many animators themselves needed the work. Animation also allowed for voice actors to both play multiple roles and record multiple episodes in the same day. And the talent themselves tended to be less famous and therefore less expensive. In terms of quality, these animated spin-offs could either be A. a cheap cash-in recycling a better premise with only loose connections to the original, or B. a well-thought-out production telling a familiar story in a new way with just as much love and care. Thankfully, we're going to be talking about an example of the latter. It's 1999 and the Sabrina the Teenage Witch sitcom is in its 3rd season with an average of 12.2 million viewers per episode. It's proving a financial juggernaut in terms of tie-in media, from novelizations, magazines, toys, that it's only logical an animated version would be commissioned.
Man, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse!
You want fries with that?
It's difficult to find production notes or any kind of background info on the series beyond the people involved.
Who needs Melissa Joan Hart's autograph anyway?
Paula Hart executive produced this as well as the sitcom, with Melissa Joan Hart and Nick Bakay also joining the cast.
Back off, Mr. Ed. This stays with the outfit.
The latter reprised his role as Salem because, honestly, who else could do it?
With this talking cat, we could build a whole TV show around him.
Tuh, like I'd ever sell out.
Melissa, however, would voice the two aunts, which actually worked better than you're thinking.
Good thing I convinced the chief that the ponies only escaped from Jem's home. But I was the one who convinced him this is a designated pony refuge!
Her 12-year-old sister Emily Hart, who had appeared on the sitcom as bratty cousin Amanda, instead played the role of Sabrina herself.
Nothing beats cotton candy up your nose at Warp 10.
And the series went against industry tradition by hiring mostly child actors to voice the child characters, notably Chantal Strand playing these 3 roles.
Freaks.
It's all Harvey's fault.
I'm Wormy and Glora.
They also attracted now legendary voice actress Cree Summer to add some diversity, and even got celebrity cameos from Weird Al and Mr. T.
I guess this quickly earth fool doesn't know who he's messing with, do he?
Somehow I forgot about this.
Well, we can't dally over details.
And for some decent Irish representation, girl group Bewitched were hired to sing the theme song.
So have you seen her?
At least they didn't use C'est La Vie.
I got a house with the windows and doors. I'll show you mine and show me yours.
Despite some connections to the sitcom and the comic, Sabrina the Animated Series was its own continuity.
I'm only 12.
Although retaining the sitcom's backstory of being half mortal, this Sabrina is the younger age of 12 and has always known about her powers, with Harvey now being a childhood friend.
Do you want to stay young and beautiful forever? Huh? Do you?
Hilda and Zelda's personalities resemble the sitcom, but now they're trapped in the bodies of teenagers as punishment from the scene-stealing head of the Witches' Council Enchantra.
Attention back on the most important person in the room, please.
Salem retains the sitcom's backstory of being a warlock turned cat, but he's able to use some magic in this form.
I've kind of got my hands full with Salem's little April Fool's Day.
The Spellmans now live with an original character, Uncle Quigley, from the mortal side of the family of course, and he's basically Darren Stevens if he got bitterly divorced.
Sabrina, after this trip you are so grounded.
Sabrina's best friend in this continuity is Chloe Flan, who was chosen as the one mortal Sabrina could share her secret with, allowing her to be involved in most of the adventures too.
Can't you guys use magic?
Their brunette rival at school this time is Gemini Stone, nicknamed Gem, and defined by her absurd wealth in all its 2000s glory.
All I see is this. I guess you can take it with you.
As a cartoon made before the early 2010s, it was more directly aimed at children than the general family audience of the sitcom. And being produced by Deke, who are never that subtle about their moralizing, meant there were more message episodes.
What was I thinking? I didn't even look both ways.
But for the most part, the animated series had Aesops that were well thought out. Like, don't be in a rush to grow up, because being an adult involves lots of responsibilities in addition to independence. Or you can't scare someone into being nice, but you can show them kindness to encourage their better side. Or what you see of someone else's life is just a filtered version, and no one person's life is perfect. And having been bullied in the past doesn't give you the right to let prejudice overcome you.
Everybody's an individual responsible for their own actions. I judge people by what they say and do, not by skin color or sex or nationality, or whether they happen to have magic powers.
Their episode about diet and body image wasn't handled the best, but I can appreciate the effort.
I don't get girls going all skeletal trying to stuff themselves into tight pants.
He doesn't?
And remember how I said a lot of these animated spin-offs recycled some ideas from their parent shows?
Sabrina's bash is gonna make your party look like a civil service exam.
Let's let everybody decide whose party they'd rather go to. Yours or mine.
Having properly rewatched Sabrina, which used many of the same storylines as the sitcom, I realised that's not necessarily a bad thing.
The only difference between us and them is they're talented.
You just didn't have enough star quality.
I mean, there are multiple episodes here that use the same or similar concept. Cast magic to become musically talented and fame goes to your head. Throwing a Halloween party that conflicts with the rivals and trying to keep it from getting boring. Getting your own reality show and realizing it's not all it's cracked up to be.
I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. Tarantullino.
But I highlight these to show that episodes using the same concept were still able to utilize them in different ways, when it would be all too easy not to do this and assume kids couldn't tell the difference.
We haven't been given our cool spy stuff.
What cool spy stuff?
For example, both series did a parody of the spy genre.
Kink's the name. Derek Kink.
The sitcom went for a James Bond aesthetic, while the animated series leans more towards the Avengers.
Why is there always a big formal wear scene in these movies?
Gets the hero into a tux.
Despite the same characters using the same plot, they feel like two distinct shows.
The name is Spellman. Sabrina, your worst nightmare, Spellman.
The sitcom was more about comedy and slapstick, while the animated series was more about adventure. With more freedom than live action, the animated series embraced the advantages of this medium and gave us all the excitement that the sitcom tried for, but obviously wasn't able to.
Zelda, come on! Water, blues, and greens turn us into submarines!
These adventure-themed episodes were honestly just fun.
Atomic tantrum power! Activate!
Being trapped in Harvey's comic and having to contend with the dumbest superpowers in existence.
Squid's making.
Thanks for the assist.
Accidentally turning yourself into mermaids and having to outswim both a torpedo and a giant jellyfish.
Eat silt, Blondie!
Getting sent back to ancient Rome and learning to be a gladiator in a thinly veiled metaphor for the pro wrestling industry.
What about the fans?
Oh, they know it's a fake. They just like the drama.
And the adventure episodes were blended very well with the more mundane ones.
If I could go back in time to this morning,
Like repeatedly hopping through time to stop an accident.
You just saved everyone in town!
oh man.
Trying to make your tyrant of a nanny nicer and just turning her into a hippie.
Oh, look, a friend of nature.
Magically removing your wisdom teeth but now being unable to lie.
Did you say crummy dancing?
I did. I don't know why. But one thing's for sure, your butt will look huge in my blue dress.
As an aside, Cree Summer is just iconic in this scene.
May I suggest when you get home you take a long nap, Grumpy?
The animated series shared the sitcom's approach to parody, and this one had way more parodies.
You underwater! Many adorable sea creatures around! Music number a must!
Look, I'm sure we don't have time for any mute.
Like when Sabrina, Salem, and Harvey end up in the latter's self-created comic book world.
10 years at the Actors Studio and I'm still playing squids. Sheesh!
This episode is 10 times more enjoyable if you have a passing knowledge of Silver Age comics and how uselessly powered the token females were.
And you know what else? Squids are a totally bogus superpower. Everybody else was right. You stink!
Similar is the video game episode, which feels like both a celebration of and affectionate jab at 90s RPGs.
The goal of the game is to reach the Black Citadel and capture the treasure within, the fabulous Golden MacGuffin.
9-year-old me totally wished this was a real game.
It's the treasure at the end of the game! We've won!
And the King Arthur episode, which is just really fun.
Curses! I might get lost! Stop! Cease! Desist!
Okay, Witchery Science Theatre was a bit mean-spirited with its 50s monster movie homage, but hey, it predicted the plot of The Shape of Water.
But I love Freddy no matter what!
Overall, the animated series understood that the essence of Sabrina and her character was fun and escapism, while still being relatable. We'll come back to that. And the supporting cast in this version are all just lots of fun.
Not my floaties! Goldfish! After me!
The sitcom's quality could fluctuate depending on if we were watching the episodes of Brad instead of Libby, or Josh instead of Harvey, but the animated series has the consistency, and thankfully the rarity of no voice actors being replaced throughout the run.
I'm down with the Dilio, sister. I may reside in a ceramic jar, but my hearing's clear as a bell.
They're not elaborate archetypes, but they work.
A lifeguard for synchronized swimming?
Oh, yes. Why, if one of us got out of sync, it could be fatal.
Lovable doofus, eccentric outsider, shameless rich bully, supportive best friend. And yeah, let's talk about Chloe for a second.
I can see the headlines. Chloe Flan and friend die in freak fashion accident.
And friend? I'm and friend?
The sitcom never had the best relationship with race representation, since we got the Quizmaster as the only black character in Season 2 and then Dreamer in Season 4, both vanishing with no resolution. And yeah, Chloe is still the only non-white character in the animated series, and will rarely drive the plot of an episode like Harvey and Jem sometimes will.
Thank you, trusty sidekick.
She's also the supportive best friend, defined mainly by being sensible and kind and occasionally sassy.
Talking kitty cat cracks me up every time.
But at the very least, the animated series gives Chloe a sense of importance by making her aware of Sabrina's magic, and thus allowing her to have agency in the plots.
Zortsblats. I hate coming over here.
Chloe usually takes part in most of Sabrina's adventures, and even has moments where she saves the day.
Salem, Sabrina, don't be shy. You can adore me too.
She might not get to have an episode that centers around her, but she'll at least get to influence the story in the ones she's in.
There's still something I want back.
Yeah? What's that?
You. I want my best friend back.
Fine.
We see her family once or twice too, and learn some things about her outside of being Sabrina's friend.
And what's Chloe's dad doing in a Santa suit? Her family celebrates Kwanzaa.
And in an era where it wasn't uncommon to have white actors voice any character, they hired Cree Summer in one of my personal favorites of her roles.
Don't look now, but I think we're bad girls.
She herself says,
"There's this really crazy belief that black girls don't watch cartoons, and that we don't collect comics, and that we don't like sci-fi, and that's BS, man. We love it."
So with all of this, and Chloe rarely moving beyond the sidekick role, she feels at least like an earnest attempt to give black girls representation, rather than just being the token minority.
Hail Chloe! Hail Chloe! Hail Chloe!
I'm possibly a bit biased because, adding up all the best friend characters Sabrina goes through in this and the sitcom, Chloe is my favourite. And if they weren't going to give her focus episodes, at least they gave her the best lines.
Do you think they make breath mints for fish? I think we're gonna need a shoehorn to fit into these things. And after we finished hurling, we got no storm, no food, and your cat has gone full goose bozo on us.
And segueing onto the writing, despite the animated series occasionally going into preachy educational territory, it retained the same creative wit as the sitcom, which is quite impressive since they were two different writing teams.
I tell you, doom and...
Are you feeling all right?
Yes, fine.
I mean, it wasn't always perfect, since even 10-year-old me thought the Eiffel Tower episode was especially contrived.
That's not how you spell purse! P-E-R-S-O-N, person?
But still worth it for this line.
I can't believe we started an international incident.
And really, if there's one thing I'll always praise the sitcom for, it's the one-liners.
I can't pick up women in this.
And the animated series does not disappoint in this department either.
3 words for you. Solo career.
That's actually 2 words.
Okay, here's another 2 words. Goodbye.
Now you're down to one word.
I can't have a serious academic discussion on cartoon one-liners, so a shameless fanboy montage it is.
I'm looking for a cute young guy with dark brown hair and a dreamy smile.
Aren't we all, honey?
He's just passed on to another plane.
Well, I liked him on this plane.
It's true. The dumber the rhyme, the cooler the spell.
I saw the movie Death Takes a Holiday. If he can, so can I.
I refuse to die wearing this hat.
Oops! We're responsible for destroying Earth?
I'm the dairy delinquent, the moo juice marauder, the creme de la creme of calcium criminals.
Nobody goes off the high board.
Does anyone else hear music?
And remember when I mentioned how the animated series understood what made Sabrina work as a character?
Magic is not
to be used for frivolous purposes, I know. But just this one time, please.
You only need to look at the horrific direction they took her in when the dreaded spin-off within a spin-off came along. Sabrina's Secret Life was the follow-up after Deke separated from Disney, and its good points begin and end with the catchy theme song.
Who's making magic, making magic, making magic?
Sabrina becomes dumber, more selfish, and outright fucking cruel.
It's not fair to the rest of us when you cheat on tests.
What? Where'd you hear that?
It's what they say.
All to serve a badly conceived educational narrative.
Is there any way to stop the rumor?
Only with the truth. The truth will set you free.
Not helped by the change in voice actress making her sound extremely obnoxious.
Why would we have a fight? She only snagged my boyfriend for the biggest dance of the year.
Don't worry though, Britt McKillop would redeem herself later.
Sunshine, sunshine, ladybugs awake. Clap your hooves and do a little shake.
But Sabrina's Secret Life serves as a demonstration of just how solid the character in the animated series, and indeed the sitcom, was.
I'll say, don't you want to help Harvey? Then you'll say, but Zelda said. Then I'll say, you're just helping out a friend. Then you'll say, oh gee, should I? Then I'll say...
All right, I'll do it.
Sabrina could be realistically flawed, with her impulsiveness and childish naivety resulting in her ending up in situations that are relatable to us all, even when we don't have magic powers.
You're probably mad at me, right?
It's a fine line between being believably flawed enough to justify the repeated magic mistake storylines, and just being annoyingly dumb or self-centered.
Hero? Heroes don't cause bus accidents. Heroes don't flood their town.
The former is the reason that this incarnation of Sabrina and her sitcom counterpart are so beloved, and the latter why Secret Life Sabrina is so despised, and why Chilling Adventures Sabrina is so polarizing. Teenagers are often impulsive, reckless, and think they know it all, but they are also capable of lots more than they're given credit for. So when animated series Sabrina gets herself into trouble because she's terrified of needles or the dentist, or jumps to conclusions too often, or doesn't think a spell through before she casts it, well, we don't hate her because we know that would be us too. And the way Sabrina is able to save the day and fix her own mistakes helps us, thinking that's what we might be able to do as well.
And I'm trying to figure out a way to give him the courage he needs to go for it.
See the power in getting the right balance between escapism and relatability?
Sabrina, you have some explaining to do!
As I said in the first video, I'll always have a special love for Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and it does give me that warm/fuzzy feeling when I see it getting more recognition than it did back in the day, and I hope the same happens for the animated series too.
You beat the monsters and rescued the dude in distress.
It was a smart, funny cartoon that didn't talk down to its child audience too badly, and holds up quite well for the most part. Nice animation, good voice acting, clever writing, and a sweet balance between exciting adventures and casual character stories. It's a Sabrina spin-off that was kind of made for me.
Where are the ponies?
Nay! Nay, I say! There are ponies here not!
And you have to love that it's such a time capsule of the Y2K era.
He directed Gulp Fiction and revived the career of that zombie TV star Joe Revolta.
The whole thing is up on YouTube now, at really good quality, so seriously, check it out. You might actually enjoy it.
Poor hint rhymes with orange. Hello? Is anybody there? No one appreciates what I go through.